from a quantum physical perspective, there are two things of note. One, all time exists right now. So we are in thousands, potentially thousands of bodies right this very moment. Welcome to The Reluctant Medium, where we cover the gamut of out there conversations. With an open mind and a curious heart, we want to talk about it all, from psychic phenomena and energy medicine to beings from other star systems and out-of-body experiences. You'll find a great balance between grounded science-backed topics and others that science hasn't quite caught up to yet. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenberger, a psychotherapist by trade and a reluctant spirit baby communicator. And hey, even though I'm a medium, I'm not buying everything folks are selling. I just have a voracious appetite to know more about what I call the world of the weird. Join us on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube at The Reluctant Medium. I'll see you there. Hi there. Welcome to The Reluctant Medium. I'm Dr. Maria Rothenberger, your host for this show. And this topic is hands down one of my favorite questions ever about spirit babies. I got an email a few days ago about this very topic, and I said, thank you very much. I am making this a podcast episode. So welcome to this topic about essentially reincarnation, right? What if my baby is actually a loved one that I've lost? So the email that I received was from somebody who was pregnant and she just felt intuitively that her baby is the soul or will be the reincarnated soul of her mother whom had passed away not too long ago. And of course, I always encourage folks to pay attention to intuition. It is the most powerful tool that you have already. You come with it. When you are incarnated yourself, you have your intuition, use it all the time. And so I 100% trust that she is accurate. Now, let's talk about that. It is so incredible because, first of all, the questions that she asked were, one, is this soul my mother that passed away? I've already answered that. I 100% believe that you need to pay attention to your intuition, and you are probably accurate. But that's the simple answer. The next question, or that's the simple question. There's a simple answer to that simple question. The next question is complicated. And that is what I want to talk about today. So the question is, now I'm confused. Like, what do I do? Can I still talk to my mom on the other side? Or how do I talk to this baby? How can I talk to both? Wait, what do I do? I don't know. It's complicated. And we're going to get into that today. First, let's just talk about this concept of reincarnation in the first place, okay? And I'm going to make it even more beautifully complicated for you. Yay! That's what I like to do. So, first, does reincarnation exist? Like, is that a thing? Now, we can go at this from a religious perspective. Some religions, like the one that I grew up in, was a Christian religion, is like, no, that's not a thing. You know, YOLO, you only live once. I think that's silly. I don't agree. But there are plenty of people who do. There's only one life. Plenty of other traditions, though, believe otherwise, that reincarnation is a thing. We incarnate multiple times because we are meant to. We are at a school. This is Earth School. It is probably one of the toughest schools out there, or so I've heard. And we choose to incarnate, to learn and to evolve and to grow. Okay? That is the belief that I subscribe to. Now, I should say, I am also a trained past life regression therapist. And in that training, the idea of whether reincarnation is a thing or past lives are real is not as important as how it affects your present life. All right? So I run into folks all the time who are like, I don't know, am I making this up? Like, I mean, that's exactly how I was beginning to. I'm making this up. This is just like my imagination. Well, you are supposed to use your imagination when you are doing past life regression work. It is the thing that we are educated out of. Just your imagination, I'm using air quotes, is a rather silly notion. It is a beautiful skill and a beautiful tool to have, just like your intuition. use your imagination. It is amazing. So when people say that, I say, the idea of this session, this past life regression session, is not whether this thing is true or not, but how does it affect you in your present life? Okay, so I'm noting that now for the purposes of just, staying grounded here, right? Here's my thing. I am science brain over here and connected to spirit over here. I am definitely a balance of both. And so this is how I like to present things to you in this show, is this balance of both. And I've done that for 6 years now. In the other podcast that's archived in this show, the Miracles Happen Fertility podcast, and I was focused fully on fertility issues. And now in the Reluctant Medium, I love grounded, evidence-based things and connection to the other side. So I wanted to offer still that grounded perspective. Does this really matter? Is this true? Well, less so than how it affects your present life. Okay, so keeping that in mind, I'm going to throw in a wrench. Here's where I'm going to complicate things a little bit more. As I said, I love complicating things. Not only can we incarnate over and over, but we can incarnate into multiple bodies at the same time.
Isn't it?
Brain explosion right there. There are many resources to look at for this. One of my favorite is Michael Newton, who wrote Journey of the Soul. His research in soul, consciousness, etc., is outstanding. And what I like about him is that he is totally resistant to all these ideas until he starts to gather more and more evidence. But see, right? So he is a healthy skeptic, as I like to call it. So I'm not picking up everything you're putting down, but I'm open, right? I like that combination of thinking. And that is how he thinks. So what the idea is, and Michael Newton is not the only person to say this. This is many iterations of this through different people that I've researched myself and experiments that I've read, etc. Many folks talk about this idea that we only incarnate using a small percentage of our total consciousness. Some people say up to a third or 40%. I don't know, a percentage of our consciousness. And some even say, well, our bodies couldn't handle the fullness of our total consciousness, which I think is pretty amazing. There's a beautiful video by Jill Bolte Taylor called A Stroke of Insight. It's on YouTube. It's a TED Talk. Incredible. And she talks about how she couldn't imagine all the fullness of herself fitting in this little tiny body. She is a neuroscientist, and it is an incredible story. You have to go see it. Or you have to pull it up on YouTube. It's amazing. I said go see it as if it's like a movie theater thing. I've got it linked up for you in the show notes here, so you can go check that out. Okay, so when we think about this minor complication, not only can we reincarnate, but we can incarnate into multiple bodies at once. That throws another little wrench in the system, doesn't it? Now, here's the idea, though. From a quantum physical perspective, there are two things of note. One, all time exists right now. There is no linear time. It is an illusion. So then we incarnate in all of our incarnations right now. So we are in thousands, potentially, thousands of bodies right this very moment. The other thing is all souls are all one with a capital O. So we can't incarnate in different times. We can't be separate from one another. We're all the same. I'll tell a brief story of my own past life regression experiences. I don't really talk about my past lives a whole lot, but I will let know right now because it illustrates this idea perfectly. So I did a regression with somebody who was actually writing a book about this. So she wanted to gather more evidence for her book. And we did a regression where I was, I lived in Chicago in, I want to say the 30s, or maybe I was born in the 30s. I have to look back at my notes. And I was at the time of the regression, I was an older gentleman. And I was a bachelor. I couldn't pick up on if I had a spouse and they passed away. I don't know, but all I know was that I was a bachelor. And I was older, like 60s. And now that I'm approaching 50, I'm like, well, that's not that old. That's just midlife. We're just getting started. Anywho, I digress. So I was 60-year-old plus gentleman, and I needed meaning. I was very wealthy, and I needed meaning in my life. And so I purchased an orphanage, basically, where souls or children lived until they were adopted. And I would visit there frequently, and there's an adoption theme in my life, of course, already, which makes complete sense. So I can go down the rabbit hole there. Well, then, am I making this up? I don't know. One of the reasons why I believe that I'm not making this up is because of the deep, deep emotion that was involved in this regression. And that's one of the things that Dr. Brian Weiss talks about in his research. When there is deep, intense emotion, that's usually an indication that it's a memory. I've linked up Dr. Weiss's information also in the show notes. Go check him out. I was fortunate enough to be trained by him in past life regression therapy. So there's this gentleman, and I had this orphanage. I would visit there often and see the children, and I fell in love with a little girl. Now, I recognized this little girl as my present-day son, my youngest son. The trouble in that life was that I was not allowed to adopt her because I was a single man, and it would have been deemed inappropriate, or it was deemed inappropriate. A single man was not allowed to adopt, especially a little girl. Even though I owned the place, I owned the joint, as they would have said back then. So, of course, I was sorely disappointed, heartbroken, etc., and I still supported her in her life, and even into adulthood, paid for college and all that. Now, here's where the story gets wild and is connected to what I was just talking about with multiple incarnations. This little girl would still be likely, potentially, alive right now, as my son is already incarnated in his body. So the same soul, the same consciousness incarnated into multiple bodies. Now, is she still alive? I don't know. I have more research to do. But that is interesting to think about. And it's an illustration of just that idea. And it sort of mind-boggled me, and why I actually went down that rabbit hole in terms of finding out what the heck is that even possible? Why would I recognize him if she's still potentially alive and my son's alive? That doesn't make any sense. Going back and forth in my own brain about the possibility of that was difficult. And so I love this question for that reason, because it's my own experience. So that's the complicated part, extremely complicated, and I don't know that there are any clear answers. But how do you make this practical in your own life? Let's go back to this person's question. How do I even talk to them? How do I talk to my baby? How do I talk to my mom now? Can I talk to them? Okay, so here's the thing. Because only a portion, theoretically, of our consciousness is incarnated with the body, yes, you can talk to your mom as she is your mom. Yes, you can talk to your baby as they are your baby. They are still their own beings with their own life trajectories, with their own contracts, because every time that we incarnate with a different astrological makeup. We incarnate with different DNA. We incarnate with a different soul plan. So, hopefully, your baby is a more evolved version of mom. So you may notice similar characteristics. You may notice similar things like a laugh, or mannerisms. Of course, that could also be gleaned from your own DNA, right? Because DNA is generational. But you can talk to your mom as your mom at the same time as talking to your baby as your baby, even though they are different iterations of the same consciousness. It's as simple as that. So when you need mom's guidance, even though she is not in her former body, talk to her. Talk to her on the other side. And when you need to communicate with your baby, talk to your baby as your baby. It's really as simple as that, even though it's a little mind-boggling in the head. It is perfectly fine to do that. And get curious about it. Get really curious, especially when your baby is verbal. This is another story of past life stuff. When my son, my oldest, was about 2 or 2.5, I just randomly asked him, "Hey, buddy, do you remember being a grown-up?" And he goes, yes, mommy. And he told me how it was 2.5. He told me a whole story about how he was a police officer and he was accidentally killed by his comrades. I mean, details. He was the building that he was in, the smoke that was in there. He couldn't be seen. They couldn't see him. They were after somebody and they accidentally shot him. And then, of course, like he wanted a snack or something, and we carried on with regular life. But those are the kinds of things that you can ask your kiddo about. I wouldn't lead them like, "Hey, do you remember being my mom in a past life?" I would ask them if they have memories, if they remember that. And until around age 7-ish, kiddos are operating, their brainwave activity is operating at a theta brainwave state, and so they are much more amenable, they're much more capable of seeing things that we don't see or hearing things, etc., sensing things that we don't sense. And they have memories that are just right there for the taking, like a beautiful ripe apple on a tree. You pull it off and you enjoy. And so ask them open-ended questions like that. When I first asked that question, that was my first foray into this world of the weird. And I did not know what else to say after that. So I just gave them a snack and carried on with our regular lives. But I would ask other things now, like, "Oh, what country were you in? Do you know? What did it look like? What did the people look like who lived there? Do you remember anybody else when you were a grown-up? Like mommy or daddy or your auntie or your cousins?" I would have asked questions, follow-up questions like that. And he may have been bored of that already, like, "Why are you even asking me that?" And then we would have just stopped the conversation. But it is still fun and curious, you know? One of my favorite stories of a child remembering a past life was when a toddler was having his diaper changed, and his dad was changing his diaper, and he said to his dad, "Remember when I changed your diaper? Remember when I was a grown-up and I changed your diaper?" And it turns out that this little toddler remembered being his dad's grandfather. They ended up showing this baby photos of dad's grandfather, so that would be his great-grandfather, and he's like, "That's me! That's me! Wasn't I handsome?" Or whatever he was saying. I can't remember. He's 2.5 or whatever, 3. Like my own son was like 2.5 or 3. But it's fascinating. I love those stories, and they're able to talk about these things just like matter of fact, like it's no big deal. And I completely love it. I love when you're able to ask kids open-ended questions like that, and they talk about it like it's no big deal. It's fantastic. It's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. So, to you, lovely writer, for your beautiful question, thank you very much. And you can talk to your mom like she is your mom on the other side, and you can talk to your baby as she is your baby. And no more complication than that. It's very simple. The practical way of moving through that sort of complicated quantum physical whatness is to just talk to them as who they are. They are different iterations of the same consciousness, and aren't we all? We all are. So I'm talking to you, but you're really me. And you're listening to me, but I'm really you. Isn't that nuts to think about? But it's the same thing. We are all one. So I hope this has been useful for you, and I am curious to hear from you. Do you think, anybody listening or watching on YouTube, do you think that you recognize anybody in your current life from your childhood? Do you recognize anybody in your life now that you may have known before? Do you know anybody that has reincarnated? Have you had past life memories that you've recognized somebody in? I'd love to know. Please email me at info@drmariarothenberger.com, or it might be easier to email me maria@thereluctantmedium.us. All my contact information is located below in the show notes, and I would love to hear from you. Hey, if you want more fantastic, cool conversations like this all the time, you don't have to just hear me like blabbing at you all the time. Come join the Miracles Happen community. It's a free community on the Mighty Networks app. And we talk about shit like this all day stinking long. It is a great time. People talking about intuition. There was somebody on there that had lost a wedding ring and just intuitively knew where to look for it and found it after many other hours of looking for it elsewhere. And just knowing it was going to pop up. Things like that. We talk about little everyday things and then like really big things like souls reincarnating into our babies and things like that. It's fantastic. Just go to the miracleshappencommunity.com. Again, it's linked below. Or you can download the Mighty Networks app and search for the Miracles Happen community there and apply to join. And it is free, FRE, no cost whatsoever. I can't promise that's going to be always how it is for the rest of all time and eternity, but it is free right now for the foreseeable future. P.S. Every first Friday of every month, you get to talk with me live if you want to. I do a free Q&A session and mini readings. It's about 60 minutes, but I think I'm having to expand that to 90 as more and more people are joining, which is a beautiful thing. We have incredible conversations with people that have so much wisdom. It is not just about me spewing some shit. It is all kinds of people sharing their wisdom. I encourage you to do that as well. It is glorious and a beautiful time. So join us every first Friday in the Miracles Happen Community Network. I will see you there. Now, I hope that this episode has been useful for you, that you've pulled some beautiful nuggets from it. Maybe just one. That's cool. And if you have, please share it with others. And if you wouldn't mind, leave a rating. You can go to lovethepodcast.com/thereluctantmedium. Again, linked in the show notes. And leave your rating and review. I would send you massive, or I already am sending you in advance, massive hugs, massive gratitude. And I will see you next time. May you be well. I'm hoping you got a useful nugget or two from today's podcast episode. May you be well, and I'll see you next time.